Welcome to Soulpreneur Scaling Stories. Today, I am excited to talk about the systems and strategy to break through your income ceiling. Whether it is you're stuck at 3K, 5K, 7K, 10K, we're going to break through that. So here's what we're going to do today. So hopefully at the end of this, you're really going to understand why most VAs, OBMs, online service providers hit this ceiling despite working harder and harder. We're going to also talk about the unexpected reason why adding more clients might actually decrease your pay and also your hourly rate. How to structure your business for more growth without sacrificing your freedom, and a very practical and unique approach that allows you the peaceful profits that you have been looking for while you get to work fewer hours. And now this is not about small tweaks or working harder. It's really about a fundamental shift in how you approach your business. So let's dive into this. And I want to share a personal story about my own business structure and business growth because it really illustrates what I see so much, what's going on with so many of you right now. So I started as a VA in 2019. And at that time, I was charging $37 an hour, which really felt like the ceiling of what I could charge as somebody who just does all of the things, right? So I was juggling, I don't know, somewhere around 8 clients. And even when at one point, I grew beyond that and hired subcontractors, and I was making maybe around 7K per month, which really sounds impressive on paper, right? Like I replaced my income that I was making in my 9 to 5. Amazing. But the reality was that on the back end, day to day, I was constantly switching between different tasks, managing all these different systems, having different expectations with each one of these clients, and doing completely different work for everybody. I was saying yes to all the things that anybody needed. Right? So I was doing emails, podcasting, project coordination, social media. Like I was doing all of the things, which is fine, especially for me. And depending on your personality, how you like to learn things, that's how I learned. And that's how I figured out what I wanted to do. However, there came a point, and it wasn't very long after I started, where as I gained more experience, I quickly outgrew a lot of what I was doing. I was really bored with some things. I was overwhelmed by others. There were things that just didn't fit well. And I'll give you an example. So at one point at the beginning, I worked for an agency, and I had this client who was not at all like my niche or like people that I like to work with, which at that point were like health and wellness and the spiritual type clients. He like made apps or something. I don't know. But I was doing like regular, like I was managing his life basically. And can I tell you that I made so many really stupid mistakes, like things that I 100% knew how to do because I was just like, why am I scheduling this man's haircuts? Like, it was just not for me. If that's the thing that you are like love to do, then great. Like, but it was not for me. And I really, really like, oh, it was terrible. So just an example of that. But within all of this, I had no clear specialty. I did all the things. There was no structure. I was just doing the things, charging money per hour. So, and in that, there was no real way for me to grow without just working more hours. And again, even with a little boutique agency that I randomly created, it was still the same in terms of how I had it set up. So I was like, okay, this isn't for me anymore. Let me go on to the next thing. So I thought that I had solved this problem when less than a year later, I became a certified online business manager. So my income did jump, right? It did increase to somewhere on average, maybe say 10K per month with just 3 to 4 clients. That sounds great, right? But guess what? The exact same problems came back, and they were even intensified because now with these few clients, it was more high stakes. I was the second in command. I was the one in charge. I was putting out endless fires. I was working a lot, and I was doing all the things, managing them, managing the teams, doing, all the things that OBMs do, working all the hours. And again, still switching between completely different responsibilities, different businesses, different everything. And although I really liked the strategic aspect a lot more than before, eventually I also hit a wall doing this. So as an OBM with a retainer-based client business model, I hit a wall and I burnt out hard. It was so interesting because there was one point where two of my clients, uh, they didn't need my services anymore around the same time. And so that's when I would normally go and find a new client. But I could not bring my fingers to the keyboard and will myself to do this. And that burnout lasted for nearly a year. And here is what I found so interesting. And I think that it is not spoken enough about in this community, in the online service provider industry. It wasn't just me. The more I talked to other VAs, other OBMs, other service providers, I realized that everybody was suffering with the exact same issues. These people were smart. They were talented. They had their shit together. And it wasn't any of that. That they were stressed out, they were overwhelmed, they were suffering. And it wasn't because of them, it was because of the business model that they thought would bring them freedom, just like I thought the same thing. So if this is you, stick around because we're going to solve this issue. So what I eventually realized and what I want to share with you in this episode today is that the retainer model itself was what was keeping me and you potentially really trapped. So why does this happen? So why, if we kind of peel back the layers, why are there so many talented online service pros, VAs, OBMs stuck at this income ceiling? Again, whether it be 3K, 5K, 7K, 10K, there's a ceiling there. And it doesn't matter how hard you work, you can't break through it. So a common misconception is that a lot of people think like, oh, if I could just land one or two more clients, I'd finally hit that 8K month, the 10K, the 12, whatever it is. But it's so interesting because that's not actually true. Because what happens is beneath the surface is that one is that, okay, your income is directly tied to your hours, right? So it's a simple equation. More money equals more work. And you have probably, or if you haven't, you will, maxed out your capacity, working close to full-time hours or more than full-time. There was a survey I saw a little bit ago asking people how many client hours they work in a day, how many is possible. And it's something like five or six, I think is what I saw, because you can't work. It's not a typical like 9 to 5, 8-hour schedule, right? Because you have other things to do. So it's really difficult to work that many direct client, what you could consider billable hours per day. So it's difficult. There is a literal ceiling there. So second, every client in your business is like a completely different job, right? So when you have this business model, you have different processes for each client, different tasks, different expectations, different communication styles, and all of this combines into the soup that increases the mental load and the time investment required in your business overall. So as an example, right, there are some clients who they're into the project management, few and far between, but they exist, right? Some of them are organized. You're like, okay, this one is easy. And then there are other clients, like I've had clients who, no matter how hard I tried, I would get like 10-minute voice messages on a daily basis, or the opposite. There would be no communication at all. And then there was expectation, so when you have to manage each of these things individually, it's fine. But when there's 8 people, when there's 4 people, when there's so much of that, it can be very overwhelming. And then third, and this is the part that nobody talks about, is that you are operating your business without a repeatable system. So every month, it's like you're starting from scratch. You are constantly reacting to client requests rather than being proactive and leading clients through your proven process. No matter what stage you are in business right now, you can have a proven process. However, what you're doing now is that you are just kind of doing what the client says, right? So you're not the one leading your own business. Even at the OBM level, you're being led by your clients' businesses. And so let me explain to you why this is so costly. So imagine that you have, let's say, 4 clients, and each client pays you $12.50 per month. And for that, it's 10 hours of work. Okay, that sounds great, right? $5K per month, not bad. But what if we break this down further? Let's say for client A, you're managing their email, social media, and doing client customer service. For client B, you're doing project management, team coordination. For client C, you're handling tech setup and systems implementation. For client D, you're doing content planning and marketing support. Now, think about and by the way, even if you are an OBM, you're still doing vastly different things for each client, right? It might not be as varied as that, but some clients need more team stuff. Some clients need more SOPs. Like it's very different for each person. And so now if you think about the mental energy required to switch between these completely different roles throughout your day or throughout your week, each switch costs you time and focus as you recalibrate to each different client's needs, systems, expectations, et cetera, et cetera. The analogy is that it's like cooking or trying to cook 4 completely different meals at one time in the same tiny kitchen. So you have like pasta cooking over here, you're trying to do stir fry over here, you're baking a cake over there, and all while somebody's behind you shouting at changes to each recipe. So it's a lot to manage. And the most interesting thing is that there is actual research that shows that context switching like this can reduce productivity up to 40%. So your 40-hour work week might only yield 24 hours of actual productive work. Now, if you add that to the extra admin time for managing different clients, which is maybe about 2 to 3 hours per client per month for emails, meetings, invoices, whatever, suddenly now you're working much more than what you're billing for. And this means that your effective hourly rate might be like $30 to $40 an hour instead of $65 that you think that you're making. And now what happens when you add on another client, that 5th client? Now you're at now you are at $62.50 per month. Okay, well now you're definitely hit a wall with your time, right? Now you're working like way beyond hours that you want to work, or maybe you hire somebody else, right? You bring on a subcontractor, and then that comes with it another wave of different challenges. Now your actual hourly rate drops even more because there's even more context switching, more admin. Maybe you even start to overserve and undercharge to keep your clients happy. Your burnout becomes inevitable because you just have no breathing room. And this is why taking on more clients is just not the answer. The math does not math. The key thing out of all this that I want you to walk away with is that the problem is not your work ethic, your skills, or even your rates. It's the structure of your business itself that is not sustainable. When you have this hourly model or this retainer model, it is truly, truly not sustainable in the long run. You can do it for a bit, but trust me, I have seen it not just in myself, but in so many others, it gets really, really overwhelming. Okay, so now we know what the problem is. What is the solution? Right? How do these high income online service pros break through the ceiling without burning out? Here is the shift that is the shift. So your income is not tied, or you do not want your income to be tied to how much you work. You want your income tied to how well your business is structured. Most VAs and OBMs stay stuck because they operate as a freelancer and not a business owner. When you're a business owner, you're wearing a different hat, right? You're thinking about your business differently than as a freelancer. So when you operate as a freelancer, you're saying yes to whatever your client needs. You're adapting to every new request. You're not leading any of your own processes. And you may even feel like you need to prove your worth by being available all the time, or like a lot of these things come up, right? That's where the boundary issues come in and things like this. A lot of VAs and OBMs and done-for-you service pros don't have a clear structure, so every client engagement feels completely custom. No 2 clients receive the same experience. You are reinventing the wheel with every new client that you bring on, and everything really relies on you showing up and figuring it out on the fly. So you really have to be on and like show up in your business in order for it to run. And then the third thing is that having your pricing based on time and not transformation. Charging hourly or by retainer literally caps your income because there are only so many hours you have available. Clients uh, they shouldn't be paying for hours. They should be paying for outcomes when you're doing it right, paying for outcomes. And this disconnect means that you're often undercharging for the true value that you provide. And the way out of this is not working harder. It's actually easier. It's way easier than that. The way out of this is building a business structure that lets you charge more for the value you bring while you do less actual work, but you're bringing in a bigger transformation. So what actually scales as a VA or OBM? You're like, okay, that sounds great, but what? Like, how do you actually do this? So what actually scales? One is a repeatable framework that every client goes through. And this is amazing because one is that it makes your work streamlined and efficient. So instead of custom work for each client, instead of letting your client's business lead you, you have a process. You have a proven process that delivers consistent results. And in this way, you also get to systematize it. You also get to have help in certain areas of it. You get to do so many things. You also, by the way, when you have this framework that is very predictable, it also lets you sell so much easier because you're able to really, really articulate the transformation so much better than, oh, I work hourly and I do all these tasks, right? The second thing to what actually scales in a VA or OBM business is leading clients instead of reacting to clients. So rather than waiting for clients to dictate what they need, you offer a structured approach that ensures results. And this positions you as the expert because now you have your process and this is what you do. The third thing that scales is having pricing based on transformation and not time. Because when you focus on the outcome you deliver rather than the hours that it takes, you can charge what that transformation is truly worth. And I'm sure you've heard this before, but I was actually on a coaching call today with one of my clients who is super amazing at what she does. So she does things really fast. So when you are good at things, you are losing out on money by charging hourly because it might take somebody else 3 hours to do it. You can do it in 30 minutes. Why should you be penalized for that, right? Like that's crazy. So let me share with you a quick example of what this looks like in practice. So instead of saying like, I'm a VA, I do take over your admin so you get to save time and I charge $37 an hour. Well, what if instead you said, I guide course creators through my client experience elevation framework to create seamless systems that convert more customers and generate more repeat business. So this is a positioning shift, right? So now you are the expert. You have a proven process. You're not just a pair of hands that does tasks, right? You're not a generalist doing random things. You're a specialist solving a specific valuable problem. And by the way, it is not just, specialist versus generalist. It's also how you actually set up your offer with a framework. So you can be a specialist, but not have a framework and you're still in the same boat. And so the best part is that when you lead with your framework, you get to command higher rates because now you are selling expertise and not time. You get to attract clients who respect your process and boundaries, and you get to have better boundaries. You work more efficiently because you are not reinventing the wheel every time. You create more predictable, consistent results for your clients, and you free yourself from the time for money trap. Imagine finishing work at 2 p.m. Everything is done, no fires to put out, no guilt about how you're spending your time. Do you know what I did today? Today, as I record this, I went on a really long walk in the morning on the beach with my dog. I met up with a friend. I brought him, he did very well, at a cafe. And I was able to do all of my work in about 3 to 4 hours today. And that's typical because I have it set up purposely like that without having a ceiling to my income. So this is what it should be, right? This is why you started your business in the first place. And this is the realization that really transformed my own business, as I've just told you, and I've seen it create really incredible results for my clients as well. So the big thing is stop selling your time and start selling your expertise through a structured framework. And I want to do a little audit with you, do a little exercise to help you kind of make this shift in your business right now. So I invite you to grab some paper and a pen, go on your notes app, and complete this little audit. It is how many steps? It is 3 steps. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and it will be really quick. So step number 1 is to list out the last 3 client requests that you said yes to. The last 3 client requests. It could be tasks, project, quick favors, anything a client asked you to do. So take a moment to do that. And then step number 2, for each request, I invite you to ask yourself, did I say yes because this fits into a clear process that I have? Or did I say yes because I didn't know how to say no? Why did I say yes to this? What would it look like if I had a framework that addressed this need proactively? So for each of these last 3 tasks, why did you say yes? And what would it look like if it wasn't something that just came up, if it was something that was planned for proactively? And then step 3 is imagine what it would feel like to say, oh, that's a great question. If phase 2 of my framework, we're going to address that exact thing through whatever process. Let me make note of that for our next call together. What would that feel like? So take a moment and write that down. What it feels like having the confidence to lead your clients through your process instead of constantly reacting to their requests. For most online service providers, this little quick exercise is really eye-opening because it really shows how much of their current work is reactive rather than proactive, and how much is really out of their control versus really being a leader and being in charge of their own business. Imagine how your business would feel if you were confidently guiding clients through your proven process that you created, that you designed, rather than scrambling to meet their ever-changing demands. This is the power of leading with a framework. So hopefully through this, you have gotten to see how having this signature core framework makes it so much easier for you to set boundaries without feeling guilty, how it makes it so much easier to command higher rates with confidence, how it helps you to grow and scale your business without working more, and actually giving you space for peaceful profits, and how it makes it easier to create consistent results for your clients. So you're doing this really amazing work. And if you are ready to break free from this ceiling, of course, I am here to help you. So I love helping my VAs and OBMs and service pros create a business that scales peacefully. And the number one way I do that right now is through my program expansion. It is 3 months of one-on-one coaching designed specifically to help service providers like you create peaceful profits without the burnout or the hustle. So what we do is we uncover your unique magic, which is that specialized expertise that you have. We all have it inside of us that really makes you exceptional. I have a really cool process for doing this that I love doing. And we create a signature framework, your core offer that positions you as the expert. We design this premium offer that breaks you free from this time for money trap. We develop magnetic messaging that attracts high-value clients and build the systems that allow you to scale and grow your business with ease and grace. So now you have a business that gives you both financial freedom and the lifestyle that you actually started your business for in the first place. Imagine having a business that actually runs smoothly, brings in consistent income from your dream clients, and gives you your time and peace back. So if this is something that you are interested in, please let me know. You have all of my links below, and you can connect with me on Instagram, on Threads, on LinkedIn. If you just DM me expansion, my website, whatever, there are like 1,000 ways to connect with me. I will send you all of the details. And thank you so much for listening today. And please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always excited to talk to you guys and see where you are at, what you took away from this, and all of that good stuff. So I will see you on the next one.